Aaron is going to be giving the talk, and it may be that Yeshua will come in. It's between Aaron and Yeshua. I'm just the channel here. They will figure it out. So, that said, I'm simply going to release the body and let Aaron come in. My blessings and love to you all. I am Aaron. As long as there have been humans on the earth, as long as there have been sentient beings on any plane, there have been the unpredictable. There have been loss, pain, and sorrow. Love would explain it in his own terms, and perhaps he will come in tonight and speak. For now it falls to me to get this started. You are not incarnate to stop feeling pain. However, yes, there is an end to suffering. But as long as you have a physical, mental, emotional bodies, there will be circumstances beyond your control, and there will be pain. The question is simply how you will relate to that pain. In a very early lifetime, I was learning to be a shamanic practitioner under a very wise and skillful teacher. There was a drought. There was not enough water. The small ponds of water that we had, the Relo River, became polluted. We did not know in those days to boil water to cleanse away pollutants. People were sick. Whole families were dying. My teacher was quite skillful, knew many herbs that would help to restore health, to support restored health. But people were still dying. I said to him, there must be something we can do. He was not a Buddhist. This far preceded Buddhism. Preceded Siddhartha Gautama's life. But my teacher simply said to me, our work is to help people to be with the conditions in this moment. to find the deepest healing that they can in this moment, to find the deepest peace that they can. I could not accept this. I was angry. I said, you're supposed to be a shaman and a medicine man. You're supposed to know how to save lives. He said to me, I do not save lives. I offer opportunities for people to look at their own health and at the ever-healed and to make a choice. There may be certain things that will help them, herbs and so forth, different kinds of treatment that could help restore health. But if they do not choose to survive, I cannot give them that. It puzzled me why some people who had been so sick survived, and others who were barely sick died. What does it mean to choose life? To choose love, not to succumb to despair. You know, at least intellectually, the truth. If the conditions are present, this will arise. It will cease when the conditions cease. Your life in the world today is largely blessed. People live so much longer than they ever did before. And in most parts of the world, under much better living conditions. Not all parts, but many parts of the world. Where there are not good living conditions, it's often because of the greed and hatred that surround the people. Not necessarily their own greed and hatred, but that of others inflicted on them. One must never become complacent about suffering, nor about pain. One can never say, well, it's just the conditions. Because you, with your loving heart, have the opportunity to shift those conditions. But when you work with fear and agitation, it does not shift the conditions, but deepens the conditions into more contraction, more fear. I had the blessing when I walked the earth 2,000 years ago, during Yeshua's lifetime, to visit lepers in the hills with him. I would say, Yeshua, why do these people suffer so? You are a healer. You can do miracles. Why don't you heal them? Yeshua said to me, I do not heal anyone. Settle down now. Settle down. I do not heal anyone. I offer them the choice to open it to the ever-healed within themselves. Their free will choice to accept that knowing of the ever-healed, or to resist it. I saw that sometimes especially with these lepers. He would really seem to do nothing other than to take their hands and smile at them, wash their wounds, give them fresh water, make sure they had food. And I would see that many would be healed, and others would not be healed. He simply said to me with sadness in his eyes, "They are not ready to accept the miracle of love." Healing is the miracle of love. The healing of the world at all levels, from wars, from famine, from disease. It is the miracle of love. What do I mean by that? Imagine you asked for something from me. If you were hungry and asked for food, and I handed it to you, and you pulled back, could you eat the food I gave you? You probably are familiar with the Buddhist teaching of the hungry ghosts. Figures with tiny little mouths, so that no matter how much is offered, they can't take it in. Imagine you came to me asking for something, anything. And I said, of course. And as I said, of course, and began to offer it, you pulled into a contracted state. "Oh no, I'm not worthy." Feel yourself contracting, pulling away from what I offer. Could you use what I offered? Could you take it in? If you do not choose love, to love yourselves, to love others, you will, as these hungry ghosts, wander in circles forever until the opening to the true love that is your essence reveals your ability to receive. This is more about the world today than each of you specifically, because those in this group have matured to the ability to receive and to give. But you also must be teachers to the world of what it means to give and to receive. Many of you do have a hard time receiving, feeling unworthy to receive. One of Barbara's sons, trying to find what social services might be available for Barbara and Hal in this stressful time, found a group that would bring in meals. Not Meals on Wheels, but a different group that would bring meals several times a week. The first time they brought the meals, Barbara thought, let's see what it is. And they brought 4 ready-made frozen meals. Not elaborate, but some meat, some rice, some potatoes, some vegetable. Tasty food. But it meant that Barbara was often very tired by the end of the day and finds it hard to stand at the stove. Did not have to cook. They also brought bags of groceries. Barbara thought, we don't need that. There are people who are poor who really need that. We should say no to it all. It was very hard for her to accept this. Then, receiving the groceries, one of house care team said, let me take the groceries you don't need to the homeless house down the road. They were delighted to receive these groceries. So yes, one agency was giving it to Barbara and Hal, who passed it on. That's fine. It went to people who could use it. And the meals, I think 3 times a week perhaps. 3 or 4 times a week, because Barbara is not eating these meals. So 2 meals twice a week. Hal has, and Barbara has learned to say, thank you. Here is a good meal, a good balanced meal for Hal. All it's needed is to put it in the microwave. Thank you. But it was hard for her. I asked her, can you love yourself enough to realize what a strain it is to prepare a meal from scratch for Hal, and simply to feel gratitude that this has come to you? It's 3 weeks now, and she's starting to accept that. To receive with love and gratitude, and to pass on what is not needed. The person who brought the meals to the homeless house said the food, bags of fruit and potatoes and canned soup, said they were so happy to receive these things. People there who had no way of getting food for themselves. Thank you. It all circulates. It comes to you and it goes out. It comes to you and goes out. It means loving yourself and loving others. I'm not making too much distinction between self and other. Instead, envisioning a world where all will be fed. A world where all will receive the medicine, the care, the shelter that they need. That old, not me, I'm not worthy, doesn't help anyone. What is this human experience? What is it about? Are you here learning perfection? No. Are you here learning individuated power? No. You are here learning love. To give love and receive love. To receive love means to release the ego. Let me rephrase. To give and receive love mean to release the ego so you no longer so deeply differentiate between self and other. So much of your practice gives you the opportunity to watch how the ego forms and contracts and hardens, and say, hello, ego, rather than take a hammer and try to beat it to death. Can you love the human that you are, so that you may truly love others as well? to awaken to a place of true freedom from suffering. Necessarily includes the release of this individuated ego as self-cherishing in a narrow way. I cherish myself and all of you equally. I cannot cherish you if I hate myself. Your practice gives you an opportunity to watch the old stories. I am mean, I am selfish, I am not good enough, and not wise enough, and not kind enough. Is that so? What does enough mean? Is it only when you become, quote, perfect that it's enough? What does perfect mean? To love is to love. We do not measure it by 20 degrees or 50 degrees or 80 degrees. I love. I love. And that is sufficient. What is a love? It is the heart that is open, so that energy pours through, coming and go, like in the Tonglen practice, bringing it in and sending it out, bringing it in and sending it out. Such love is possible when you move beyond believing in the ancient stories. The judgmental stories of I should be kinder, more patient, more generous. Instead, pay attention to the places where there is kindness pouring out, and generosity and patience and compassion. It will never be perfect on human terms. But even the simplest creatures know how to love in these ways. You've all read stories or heard them about animals who will adopt not just an orphan of its own species to raise with its own litter, but even orphans of other species. What prompts a mother dog feeding her puppies, nursing her puppies, to take in a kitten or a baby goat? But these stories they fill your world, and they're beautiful. Did anyone tell that mother dog, oh no, that's a goat, that's not your puppy? Her heart is open with compassion. You think of these as lesser creatures, but they have so much to teach you. You are all capable of this when you stop thinking too much about what you should do and simply deeply open your heart to hear the words, the moods of your heart. much of this from a master, from Yeshua. I've asked him if he would incorporate tonight and tell some of how he learned these things. You might think, well, he wasn't born into it, but he also had to learn. So Yeshua's going to take the body now and tell us a story or two. For those who have not heard Yeshua speaking through Barbara, Barbara is one of many channels for Yeshua. I think she is a very clear channel. But if you're uncomfortable thinking of this as Yeshua, if you have him up on a pedestal and think he couldn't be speaking to me, it's fine. This is simply a beloved brother of light. You don't need his name or identification. But hear the love in his heart. I'll release the body to Yeshua. Thank you, Aaron, and my blessings and love to all of you. I am Yeshua. I came into the incarnation knowing this awakened heart, recognizing who we all were, not just me. All of you, brothers and sisters of light. All of you born as divine beings, that is, expressions of the infinite Creator, the creative force of the universe. Each of you sparks of God, Goddess. Each of you expressions of love. I was blessed that I came with some memory of that. At some level, you also have this memory. But you resist it. You look at the darkness in yourself instead of the light. Because there is still darkness, as there was in me. I was young. I experienced anger. I experienced fear. The difference is that when these arose, I did not get caught in the stories. Perhaps in part because I had the blessings of parents and community that reminded me to make space for my anger and let it go. And didn't say, now shame on you, don't be angry. So I knew I was loved even when anger arose. I grew up unafraid of my anger and having learned to take care of my anger and release it. When I was a very young child, I was learning how to use a slingshot with the other boys, shooting at rocks and whatever, put on a place where I could hit it, aiming at knot holes on a tree and so forth. Pulling the sling and shooting. As boys have done forever. I shot, and my stone flew over its mark, and heard a shrill yelp. Yelp is not the right word, but a cry. I ran back and found that I had hit a baby bird. Not a baby bird, a grown bird. I had hit a bird. It was bleeding. It seemed like it was going to die. I picked up the bird and I brought it to my mother. Fix it, save it. And I cried, look what I did. I am bad. I am evil. My mother said, did you intend to hurt it? No. Were you only shooting your rocks in a place where you had checked ahead of time that nothing was there? Yes. Then forgive yourself and hold this bird with love. So she had me sit down on the ground and hold the bird in my hands and do what you would essentially call a forgiveness meditation and a loving kindness meditation, offering forgiveness to myself for having harmed the bird, inviting the bird to forgive itself for any harm it had done, for example, in killing a worm. Cherishing myself and cherishing the bird. I was only less than 5 years old. I sat there, tears streaming down my face, truly aghast at what I had done. Loving the bird and loving myself, forgiving myself and asking the bird to forgive itself for anything for which it sought forgiveness. The minutes passed, the bird still warm in my hand. My eyes were closed. I felt it moving. I looked down at it, and it had lifted its head and was looking at me. It cocked to one side, and then gave a little sound, a tweet of sorts. It shook its head a bit. It began to shake its wings out. It stood up on the palm of my hands, just stood and looked me in the eye for a few minutes, breathing, and then it flew away. I don't know why it lived. I thought I had killed it. But I think perhaps it lived because I reminded it that it was loved, and that the world needed it, that it had an important place in the world. Aaron spoke of our visits to leper colonies. These are one of the places where there was abysmal care. Once a person was a leper, they were cast off without adequate food, water, shelter, medicines, other than what these people could offer to themselves. When I walked with my disciples and friends in the countryside, sometimes I knew where these leper colonies were and would steer us there. Sometimes I would be taken by surprise, hearing crying and climbing up a path to find a cave with people who were very sick, thirsty, hungry. One such time, we heard crying. I followed a path and found a mother with, I would not say advanced, but serious leprosy, about to give birth. People had backed away from her. They didn't know what to do for her. Aaron, in those days known as Nathaniel, he was a shepherd, amongst other things. And he knew how to deliver lambs. So I asked him to come with me into the cave. I asked his help. At first he hung back. He tells me later that he realized I would never put him in a position that could harm him. That did not mean he could not develop leprosy and die, but that he trusted me, that if that was to happen, it needed to happen, that he could really put himself in my care, in my guidance. With his help, we delivered the baby. The baby was of rich birth, so she was having trouble birthing it. But Aaron knew how to turn the baby, just as he knew how to turn a not yet born lamb. Aaron and Nathaniel, he knew how to do this. What he did was not just to turn the baby into a proper presentation, but because he trusted me, and because of his love for the mother and the baby, he offered love. He was able to come forth and say, I will help you. Not, oh, you're a leper. I will help you. I love you. So the baby was safely born. The other people who were gathered there brought us food, invited us to spend the night. Not just Nathaniel and myself, but a few others who were with me. We ate and I tended to people's wounds. Not doing anything special. Aaron of today says, why did I not use my power to do miracles to heal them? Because it would not have helped. They needed to be ready to accept healing, which meant they had to release shame and be ready to love themselves. So my disciples and I washed wounds and spoke to people, played with children, shared food, slept at their fire, and the next morning we left. It was a few months before I passed that way again. Nathaniel and some of the others were still with me, and some other people. We walked up that same path. No cries drawing us in this time. But I knew where the leper colony was. There were radiant people there. Sores were healing. People were much better fed. People were cherishing each other. I smiled at them and said, "What happened?" They looked at me and said, "Did you do this?" "No. You did this. What was the change?" I was told we learned to love each other rather than to despise each other, saying leper, unclean, to find that which was clean and beautiful about ourselves. "Yeshua, are you sure you didn't do this?" "Not to me." And I hadn't. All I had done was to love them, and in loving them, to remind them to love themselves and each other. Obviously, this is no guarantee of healing. But where love is absent, there cannot be healing. And this is where you come in. This is where your Dharma practice comes in. In this moment, with your confusion, your shame, your limiting beliefs, where is your wholeness? I cannot give you that wholeness. I can only let you know that I love you, and that the wholeness is your human birthright. That you may reach out and claim that wholeness, may release the old stories of shame and limitation, of wrongs, or not. This COVID-19 virus did not come with an intention to teach you the power of healing. That is your essence. But it can serve as a teacher for you. If enough of you in the world will start to know your true radiant selves, each of you and all of you will drop off the old belief of self and other, friend and enemy, and truly look with the eyes of compassion at every sentient being, holding each as the child Yeshua held that bird, cherishing each and cherishing yourself. This will shift your whole earth into a much higher vibration. That higher vibration is a heart of healing. Low vibration is a hallmark of fear, hatred, greed. High vibration is a hallmark of loving kindness and all the Brahmaviharas. Such beautiful states. You have come to be teachers of compassion, of love, of generosity, literally to the universe. This is a gift of this earth plane, one of the few places in the universe where you completely have free will. You have come bearing the gift and the burden of free will. To accept, I create, or at least I co-create. I imagine and say, let it be so, and allow it to be so. What will be so? Hatred or kindness? Generosity or greed? Peace or war? Wholeness or brokenness? What do you choose to create? Your Dharma practice is a vital tool. Yes, as a young man I studied the Dharma. Siddhartha Gautama preceded me on this earth, and his teachings blessedly were available to me. Perhaps I could have done what I did without them, but I don't think so. But only after much arduous practice did I learn to truly open my heart to myself and all beings, and to perceive the workings of the mind and body, to perceive the whole Dharma, everything arising from conditions and passing away. I owe this debt to Siddhartha Gautama. At some level, yes, we planned it that he would come first. But certainly as a boy growing up, I didn't know that. I needed to be introduced to these teachings and to practice them. And it was hard for me, just as it's hard for you. Just because I was born Yeshua, and to some degree awake, did not mean that it would be easy. So when I felt shame and anger at myself for having accidentally injured a bird, even then, as a 5-year-old, I was offered the opportunity to practice compassion for myself and for the bird. I could not have loved the bird if I could not have loved myself. Some of you ask me, but Yeshua, how do I love myself? My dear ones, how can you not love yourselves? I love you so very much, and it saddens me to see how cruel you are to yourselves, much more so than to anyone else. Please, begin to open your hearts and to cherish yourselves, for you are so beautiful. And you have come just for this, to deepen in love for yourself and for sentient beings everywhere in this universe. Quoting Aaron and the Buddha, if it were not possible, I would not ask you to do it. My love to you all. Aaron, how does that work? Live long and prosper. I love you. I release the body to Barbara. Thank you, Yeshua.